For more on that, let's bring in Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Mr. Gosling, it's great to have you with us. In your opinion, what does this latest Troika-backed resolution tell us about Europe's strategy here?
Well, I think it says, I think we know that the European Union is part of a cabal with the United States for decades through organizations like the Bilderberg conferences. They have been forming something we know as ordinary people in the pub, not unknown to people like the BBC. It is something called the United States of Europe. Now, Henry Kissinger back in the 1960s he said he wants one person to call rather than all these different European heads of state in order to get what he wants. And so that's what's happened over the years. Although Kissinger is no longer with us, we have really it's like a Tweedledum and Tweedledee with the United States of America and the United States of Europe. But what this really, I think, to me says so much about is the IAEA chief, Rafael Grossi. So if he knew what he was doing, he wouldn't be putting up with any of this. But he seems to have been chosen because he's pliable and ignorant, rather than that he knows anything about the job he's supposed to be doing, which is to do with the policing and the study of atomic technology, both nuclear in terms of power generation, things like medical applications of nuclear technology, and of course nuclear weapons. He really doesn't get it. And so I would like to have maybe an hour with Rafael to give him a bit of a fast track speed study education course on what is nuclear technology and whereabouts are the most important dangers in the world of exploiting this technology, which could damage humanity. Basic things like do not bomb nuclear facilities with B-2 bombers from the United States, because this can cause mass contamination. Do not allow countries to use exotic nuclear weapons without trying to cover them up secretly. Do not allow countries to break test ban treaties or talk about testing nuclear weapons. So I think really Rafael Grossi is only there because he is a useful idiot, and the only people that he convinces around the world are really the stupid people. Anyone that knows anything about nuclear technology or nuclear weapons and geopolitics understands exactly what he is, and he is basically a Western stooge who's only in that job, and I'm sure he gets paid extremely well because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's right. Mr. Gosling, what are the potential consequences of Iran IAEA cooperation if the Board of Governors approves this resolution?
Well, the consequences will be more public relations and press against Iran, and that is exactly what the object is. We know here in the UK, at least those people who've studied this, including one of the leading experts in the country, Dr. Chris Busby, that there is evidence that Israel has been using exotic fission weapons, that is to say neutron weapons, as part of its bombardment. For example, the murder of Nasrallah in Beirut is quite possible. He got some samples back from Beirut, from under the noses of Hezbollah, to the UK, and that shows evidence of a potential use of a neutron weapon. This is what is called a neutron bomb, a different type of what you might call exotic nuclear weapon, completely banned by people like the IAEA. And so that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Also, back in 2003, Ali Abbas, a young child, was fried in a very peculiar way through a window with a straight line across his body in what doctors at the time said could really only be by a neutron weapon, and that is to say exotic nuclear weapons being used in that case by the United States, possibly Britain, but most likely the United States. So these are the examples I think that we need to be looking at closely and carefully Iran is putting together a peaceful nuclear program. It would be understandable if the Iranians decided that they needed to develop a nuclear weapon. But as Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence in the United States, said when she first entered office, that there is no attempt by the Iranians to prepare a nuclear device. So what we're seeing here is the IAEA looking in totally the wrong direction. And also the world's press is focusing and zooming in, because much of the world's press seems to be just kowtowing to the Israelis. So I would really like to have a little an hour's long session with Rafael Grossi to see how much he really knows about what's going on in the world, because it does seem to me he's almost like a puppet on a stage. He's like an actor in a play that doesn't realize that he is actually dancing us all the way into a nuclear conflict, but not led by Iran, led by countries like the United States, who dropped 2 nuclear weapons unnecessarily in 1945, really just to test them, and possibly poisoned Roosevelt, the previous president, and then installed Truman, who would do it, whereas Roosevelt didn't want to drop the bomb. And so, you know, you can see we have an unhinged system here, which, if it isn't corrected right now, I think it could actually lead to a nuclear war. So the incompetence of Rafael Grossi is not just a matter for us to scratch our heads and maybe shrug our shoulders, because it could actually be making the IAEA, as it now is, could actually be making a nuclear war more likely.
Tony Gosling, historian and investigative journalist, joining us from Bristol. Thank you.
Thank you.